So welcome to the Dallas Chamber of Community Fairs. This fine Thursday morning, June 15th. It is absolutely gorgeous outside. So today we're doing community updates. So this is your chance to really let us know what your organization is doing, or if there's events and those things. And then we can just also have open Q&A amongst us. Sometimes we don't get a chance to even just ask each other questions. So we're going to use this space this morning for that. I think we all know each other, but I'm going to ask Sue, do you know everybody on this screen? Because you're the one person who has not been an absolute regular for the last 5 years in this group.
Good morning. I'm sorry I don't have my camera on. I need a minute. But let's see. I'm Sue Davis. I'm the executive director of the College Foundation and the Community College Foundation. I took over for Wendy Patton. I'm sure you guys all probably knew Wendy in her role. And I started late April. I know Lisa, I know Dan, and the other 4 folks here, I may have met you somewhere, but it's not coming to mind right this second.
You know, that's great. We'll just go around and everybody introduce themselves. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, so I may have met you at the college president's interviews.
Okay.
I was at on Hood River campus for the 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
It may have met you there. I'm Wasco County Commissioner, former high school teacher, and well, there's more.
Thank you.
Scott, go ahead and introduce yourself. There you go.
As a policy, I'm thinking I'm the one who can't hear very well. Maybe I missed something. No matter what, my name is Scott McKay. I am a community liaison for Circles of Care that matches older adults with volunteers, older adults who need some kind of periodic help. And in my former life, I was the director of the Mid-Columbia Senior Center for 15 years, but have ably passed that baton on to Rob Garrett, who's doing an excellent job. And I'm just really curious about the roundtable to hear Dan Spotz's announcements and his future, and Phil Brady about what's happening at the county.
So Scott left out a whole lot of stuff. I'll just tell you that. He's been the amazing community member, and he's been a coach, he's been a mentor. He has done a tremendous amount of things in our community.
County commissioner.
Yeah, county commissioner too. So yeah, we have a resume of Scott all at our desk, just in case he forgets, but all the impact that he's had on this community. I will say this screen full of people are very like-minded. They're very community oriented. So, but Scott, we know that you shorted yourself a little bit there. So we just took over. Brian, let's hear who you are and a little bit of where you come from and what you've done for this area.
That's oh my gosh, that's scary here. So Brian Tuck, I'm a historical retiree like Scott, young in heart, but crazy old guys. So I worked in this area, retired Oregon State University faculty member for 35 years. So been traveling, so enjoying retirement and getting out and being a grandpa and all that stuff. We got 2 little ones here in town that we're babysitting, and I think they'll never let us get old here because they have way too much energy. So so that's a good thing. So we're enjoying life and having fun and trying to keep up with all the crazy old people here, so like Scott. So that's my story.
Brian has had a huge impact, with the extension office in Wasco County. He has a lot of impact and with agriculture. So he has been around in that industry for a long time, forever bringing new information. And when he was in that role, and we appreciated him on here in that role as extension and ag, but we love hearing about his adventures now, and we're all just a wee bit jealous. So yeah. With that, let's go to Matt Cole.
Yeah, I'm Matt Cole with Direct Line IT. We are IT service provider for businesses in the Gorge and beyond. So,
He also sits on the chamber's board. And he is on our executive board, and he's my #1 volunteer when it comes to any fishing events, sporting events, the sportsman show. There's a pattern there. But we're gonna get him with the GoPro on his motorcycle here in sometime soon. He doesn't know about that. But we need some routes, and so I'm sure he'll volunteer for that too. He's ready to go. Look, this is the kind of board members everybody needs. Just ready for action and a few smiles. So and you know Dan, correct? Is that what I heard you say?
I do know Dan.
And you and I
Yes.
have spent a lot of time talking already.
Nice.
Hey, Sue.
Hi there. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, Dan, since she knows you, we're just gonna make you jump right in with the latest of Dan's spots. Then you can catch us up on the college and then where you're all that fun stuff. But we want to know the latest.
Okay, well, I'll keep it short on the Dan Spots part, and I do have a whole bunch of stuff I can talk about with the college and the community outreach team.
Okay.
I will be continuing, and I think several of you know already, I will be continuing with the college through June 30th. And on July 17th, I will be taking a position as Economic Development Officer with City of the Dalles. That's it's a new position. I'll be responsible for urban renewal, the enterprise zone, the airport, working closely with Main Street on the continuing evolution of that organization, and economic things in general, business recruitment. So working with, of course, the chamber, the port, the county, continuing with the outreach team. So I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, I've kind of wrapped up I came back into the college about 6 years ago. I've been there really for the better part of 15 years. And I tend to kind of focus on getting projects done. I like to identify stuff and work with people and make things happen. And it's all about teamwork, the skill center, the residence hall, the programs. We've got a fantastic group up there. And with the transition to a new president and the opportunity with the city, I figured that's a good time to make a move here and maintain involvement in the community. I've been kind of isolated, frankly, up on the hill sometimes, and I find myself starting to lose track of what's happening downtown, and I don't like that. I'd like to jump back in, so I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, July 17th, I'm going to take a 2-week hiatus in there. We're going to go back and see the grandkid in Wisconsin, run from mosquitoes, things like that. I'll try not to bring any more back with me. You know, we don't need that other mosquito genetics in our area. It sounds like it's bad enough already. Lightning bugs. I'd like to bring some lightning bugs. We need lightning bugs back here. If you want college, can I talk about college though?
Yes.
Okay, cool. The governor signed SB 482 last week. I think it was last Tuesday, the 6th. And I sent an announcement out. So this regards our aviation maintenance technician training program. As you all know, pretty sure, because we've been beating this drum for a long time, we need to expand the program. Columbia Gorge Regional Airport is the place to do it. We have been working with the city and the county for 3-4 years now on an EDA grant to build a permanent hangar over there, but there's one snag. The Higher Education Coordinating Commission in Oregon, in its infinite wisdom, decided that they cannot provide funding for, and we get about 1/3 of our funding from the Community College Support Fund at the state level. They would not provide that support for the program because would be located in the state of Washington. So we'd work with the commission for a couple of years, longer than that now. And the answer was always, well, we're not going to say no, but we're going to send it over to our committee and we'll think about it and think about it and think about it. And in the meantime, we're trying to grow a program. So we finally decided, well, we need to ratchet it up a level. So we took it to, at that time, Representative Bonham, now Senator Bonham. And I spoke with John Huffman before that about the prospects for legislation. John said, yeah, there's a lot of precedent for this type of thing. You look at the Gorge Commission, that's a bi-state compact. where Oregon is helping support an organization, frankly, it's based in white salmon, things of that nature. So Senator Bonham drafted SB 482, and it came out of the House committee, unanimous vote. Representative Helfrich carried it through. It came out of the Senate, unanimous vote, and then Representative Helfrich brought it through the House, again, unanimous vote out of Education Committee. Came out of Ways and Means, Legislative Fiscal, determined there would be basically a neutral economic impact because this is a program the state would be supporting anyway if it were based in the state of Oregon. And technically it is, because the airport is an Oregon airport recognized by the FAA as an Oregon airport, despite the location in the state of Washington. Preliminary to the legislation, I met with Isetta Grossman at City Hall, and Isetta put me in touch with the minutes books from 1941 that led to the status of the airport as this unusual creature, an Oregon airport located in the state of Washington. Believe it or not, ironically, because I mentioned an EDA grant that we're getting for the hangar, it all began with an EDA grant to the city of the Dalles prior to Pearl Harbor to establish an airport. I think the thinking must have been again, it was before Pearl Harbor, but the thinking must have been, hey, there's trouble brewing and we need to have additional aviation capacity in the country. And so the city was offered a grant to develop an airport, realized that the only place to put it was Dallesport, and launched this initiative. The airport, of course, preceded that. It goes back, I think, even into the 1920s, certainly the 30s. But in terms of the city role there, that started in 1941. Legislation was passed, actually 1940, I say take it back, 1940. And then legislation was passed in the spring, late winter of 1941, almost identical language from Olympia and Salem. The city of the Dalles reached out through the Goldendale Chamber of Commerce to approach lawmakers in Olympia, and they paid $15 to somebody for the processing fee in Olympia. And we found all that in the minutes books. We documented all this stuff and sent it to legal counsel, legislative legal counsel, to provide background on the law. And it's kind of ironic because at the end of the day, the legislation is just one little paragraph, SB 482, directing Higher Education Coordinating Commission to recognize training, aviation training taking place at an Oregon-based community college, taking place at an airport owned by an Oregon city in an adjacent state. So that kind of narrows it down, and it avoids a general precedent for a statewide precedent. It's very specifically tailored to our program. Anywho, Governor Kotek signed it last week. It is law, and we are now negotiating with TAC Aero for interim space of one of their very large hangars at the airport. We'll be relocating the program there from the Dalles Industrial Park once we do a little bit of temporary remodel in their space. In the meantime, we've received a $2.8 million grant from the EDA to build a permanent hangar. This is through Klickitat County, which submitted the grant going on 3 years ago now. It took EDA about 2 years to reach a decision. So during that 2 years, costs, of course, escalated. What was a 3.5 total project, 700,000 coming as a local match from City of the Dalles and Klickitat County, is now close to a $6 million project. So we do have a significant deficit. I think it's around $2.3 million now. The City of the Dalles submitted a congressional funding request via Senator Merkley in coordination with Senator Murray. Again, this bi-state aspect where we can work both sides of the river. That's out there. With the situation in DC, it's probably going to be problematic. So plan B is to go through Klickitat County, Washington State Department of Commerce to receive additional funding that would leverage an EDA budget amendment. And we understand that about 9 out of 10 EDA projects are going over like this. And so we hope, we being Klickitat County, the city, that additional funding from the State Department of Commerce in Washington will give the EDA enough information and enough leverage to increase their funding and meet that budget gap. We have about another year to do so. So that's a full court press. We'll do our best. In the meantime, TAC Arrow is there. We'll be able to expand the program there. We're at the Dalles Industrial Park now. Practical enrollment is capped at about 15 students. So we can easily double, probably triple that by going over to the airport. We're bringing on another instructor. Again, aviation maintenance technician training, meeting a huge workforce gap out there. And these are family wage jobs. Instructor Brian Despain, fantastic. Retired from Delta Airlines, and believe it or not, it was this meeting, the Dalles Community Outreach, the Dalles Community Affairs, Governmental Affairs at the time, when my neighbor, Dave Peters, my old neighbor in the Dalles, Dave Peters, was on the call and heard me talking about the program, and he chatted me during the meeting and said, hey, you might want to approach Brian Despain. I mentioned we're looking for a faculty member. So the power of this group this morning in terms of networking, that type of stuff, that's one example I could give out of governmental affairs, now community affairs. Small but mighty. So let's see. Boy, I'm talking a lot. Lisa, am I hogging it too much?
I'm not seeing anybody else jumping up and down right now, but feel free to take a breath and somebody else can jump in and ask questions too.
Ag Tech, agricultural technology program. We have, just as of last week, I believe, we are under contract now with a WSU, Brian, my apologies, sir. A WSU Vancouver campus soil scientist by the name of Mark Kramer. And you may be hearing a lot more of that name. I'm going to keep the rest of that to myself. But anyway.
Well, yeah, I've talked with him. We've had conversations about his future.
Yeah, exactly. So anywho, he's under contract to develop the curriculum. Soil scientist. He's got a vineyard somewhere out of the Dalles and a winery in Portland that I need to visit one of these days. We hope to start that program. We plan on starting that program fall term 2024. We've got an outstanding grant. It's another one of these federal grants where you submit it and you wait 2 years for an answer to Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration that would help provide funding for it. In the meantime, we have a funding allocation from, again, at that time, Representative Bonham, who crossed the aisles with Representative Anna Williams to provide funding to the college for a number of different things. One of them being the Ag Tech program. So we've designated $150,000 from that budget for startup funds for the Ag Tech program, curriculum development feasibility study that we conducted 2 years ago, probably some initial equipment. This will be a dual credit program partnership with Hood River Valley High School, but creating that model and extending that model to all of the other high schools throughout the service area. Remember, in the service area of the college, about the size of the state of Massachusetts, the only community college in that region. So that always gives us a reminder of the scope of serving population of about 80,000 spread over that area. Agriculture being a common denominator. So in Hood River, of course, it's fruit and pears and apples, things like that, primarily pears, but extending that to the whole region. We've done outreach to the Wheat Commission, of course, to the cherry growers. A lot of research going into this program. The intersection of technology and agriculture, whether it's robotics, remote sensing, electric tractors, whatever that might be. So that is moving along. July 11th, community outreach team. We are having a legislative field trip with field staff from all 4 of the senators, both members of Congress on both sides of the river, and state representatives, touring several different projects on the outreach team agenda. Port of the Dalles property expansion would be one of them. Of course, the aviation maintenance technician training program. We'll be talking about Tye Valley Fairgrounds. We won't be bringing folks down to Tye Valley, but the county will be talking about some needs there. There are a number of different requests out for federal funding, and so we're trying to cover those bases. Finally, we will be talking about childcare And boy, can I give you information on the child care center here in just a second. I'll try not to bore you. But of course, we're looking at renovating Chenoweth Middle School. And
And
so
real quick, what's the date for that again?
July 11th. July
Okay.
11th. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., I think. And we have confirmation now from all the field staff. There are some members of the state, especially on the Washington side, who won't be able to make it. But we have, of course, Merkley, Murray, Cantwell, Wyden staff will all be there. Bench staff will be there. Again, this is focusing on staff level. The outreach team going back to Washington, D.C. for 21 years now. You realize the importance of working with field staff. It's not about getting the member of Congress there. That's all well and good. That's a great photo op. I mean, I don't mean to discount the power that comes along with that, but it's those staffers, the schedulers, the field staff who know the details, and so critical to involve them. So anyway, yeah, July 11th, and the county will be providing a van to transport folks around. The port will be providing lunch. I think they want to split the cost, but we'll see about that. And the Chamber of Commerce. Let's see, the Dallas
Now, what am I
Area Chamber
doing?
of Commerce. Are we familiar? You're doing swag. You're doing cherries, chocolate
Oh,
covered swag.
Can I
Yeah.
do something else?
Huh?
Can I do something else?
But if we're splitting the cost of lunch with the port, then we should split the cost of swag with the chamber. So let's talk.
Come up with swag. I'll talk to you. I just took a whole bunch of notes. So yes. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Dan, do you need any more involvement? Like anything you can think of from the foundation, for instance, or like, are you wanting more people actually engaged that day, or just some pre-day support? Like, what kind of help could you use there?
Day, if you'd like to contribute about the college, information about the college, yeah, that's a very good point, Susan, because you are also overseeing marketing for the college, and so let's keep that in mind. Maybe some brochures about training programs at the college, workforce training, any marketing materials that we have that we can include in the baskets that we need to arrange with Lisa. It's not going to be a large community group there. It'll be really a kind of a guided tour. I think it's a 14 passenger bus. So we're not looking for a big community turnout to welcome folks. It's going to be, okay, field staff, we're going to take you to the port. We're going to take you to the airport. We're going to take you to, and frankly, the outreach team meets Tuesday, I think this coming Tuesday, and we'll be hitting that hard. What are the logistics? This whole thing came down as suggestion from Dan Marr, field staff, to Senator Merkley. Letters of support. We always get letters of support for congressional funding requests from different members of Congress. They have an electronic routing system now to obtain those letters. But Dan Marr's suggestion was it's going to be a lot better to have field staff on hand, on site, to visit and see what you're talking about. We did this with the Skills Center about a year ago, more than a year ago, prior to the allocation we received for the advanced manufacturing. That was an earmark request. Chief of Staff for Senator Merkley stopped by, Mike Zamor, and said, I'd just love to stop by, say hello. Well, that was really due diligence on his part. He wanted to make sure that there was a skill center, that we were really doing what we said we were doing. And so this is kind of getting ahead of that same type of thing. It's an opportunity for staff to do due diligence. The city's request for the hangar, for instance, I think that's a $2.3 million request. Well, they want to be sure as they go back to DC that, yeah, they can justify this. Earmarks have not been without controversy.
One question I would have, that's so funny. I didn't put that hand up. That's interesting. I think my computer heard me go like this. Anyway, my question is, would you like a student in that van with you?
Well, that's a neat, yeah, let's talk.
Okay.
I like that idea. I like it. If we could find the right student, and I bet we could, let's keep that in mind. I would never want to say no to something like that.
Okay.
What an opportunity. Yeah. Aviation maintenance student comes to mind. Two of them took the time to drive down to Salem to testify on behalf of 482, but Let's leave that open. Let's leave that open.
One of them, Kaylee? No.
Okay, so I'm gonna taper you back.
Okay.
You
Okay.
have
Thank
a
you. Thank
meeting
you.
on
Sorry
the
about that. I
We'll
know.
calm for a moment, bring us all back into the
Lisa.
room.
Thank you, Lisa, the moderator. I appreciate that. Not too much time. Anybody want to talk about anything else?
So, Phil, did you have something you want to give us some updates on? Mr.
Yeah,
County?
the county is, it's been published that the county is buying the Gobi building, and we're going to consolidate as many offices as we can into the Gobi building. It's nice that the Gobi building is already built, so we don't have to deal with expanding costs on it. And three big reasons for it. One, it's the least expensive way to better serve our clients and citizens. I'm thinking of people who need to pull a permit for something. They need to go to the assessor's office and then go all the way out to planning and then come back. And if you're a contractor, that's not just a hassle. One of my favorite Far Side cartoons was Einstein in front of this blackboard, chalks and scribbles, there's a dollar sign, and the caption is, Einstein discovers that time equals money. And it's really true if you're a contractor. Second reason is it's also the same thing, good for our staff, right? They're separated. They have to work with people across town. And the courthouse will, that grand old building will become really designated for legal matters. The DAs will stay there, sheriff will stay there, the courts will stay there. Then it leaves a couple of things open. What will happen right now, public health department is in the process of thinking about joining the county. That's been kind of a slow walk, but if they join the county, or maybe if they don't join the county, they could be in the Gobi building as well. What I love about it, it gives the county a place in the community where people say, okay, this is where the county government is happening. So that's happening. We're at the stage where papers have been signed, and now our next step is to hire companies to help us to do a planning so that we get the space organized correctly. We only want to do that once. Other big news that I can go on?
Yep.
I think I might be one of the people, well, yesterday the hospital announced that they have a new name and a new directorship they are Adventist Health Columbia Gorge, and it was a grand celebration there. Really good things have happened at the hospital since I've left, but I'm happy to have passed that on to good staff. So that's going to be neat for the community. It's going to take a lot of time. Adventist Health is real clear. Like the plan is to build a new hospital, but that can't be done until every hospital system has been financially walloped by the pandemic and by costs, and so that it's going to take a while for them to be stable enough. You don't want to get into debt if you're a hospital system. And likewise, from the county side, it's going to be taking us a bit of more time to move the pieces so that Kramer Field can move to the 154 acres, and 154 acres can be built up as a sports complex. So things are in time, but it'll take a bit of time to get there.
Bill,
yes.
ESG, emergency operations. Anything on that?
In terms of placement?
Yeah.
The thought is the emergency, as in Sheridan McClellan, that those would probably move into the Gobi building too. Which, if you're thinking in this way, that makes the annex space potentially available for a wholly different purpose, even a commercial purpose. Or I think we should start thinking as a location for housing. That would be there's very few places in the community that could make housing. That could be a building tear down or possibly a use of the building.
I think that's a capital idea to explore. That's something I'd like to look into with the city.
Yeah, I think it would take it needs to, let's get the thinking starting soon before it just moves ahead and somebody jumps on it.
Yep, good.
In terms of emergency operations, we did see a fire yesterday on the edge of town, but also yesterday I was out on the Deschutes River. The Burlington Northern Santa Fe did a oil spill drill, and they put out, they brought in, it was a 3-day planning and preparation event for what could be a real event. They put the oil booms out into the river. It was pretty impressive to watch. It was good they did the plan practice, because those things are awkward, and I was watching that the crews were learning as they were practicing. So that was cool. That'll impressive how many organizations come together for an event like that. It wasn't just BNSF. It was oh my gosh, probably a score of different businesses that deal with environmental cleanup, and agencies were all on site to work together.
I think that was based at the Readiness Center. There was a lot of traffic, a great big trailer up there. I think maybe they were.
Yeah, there was a 3-day event, and the first and second days were at the Readiness Center. And then yesterday morning, that huge trailer, something you'd imagine from a movie scene, was out at the Heritage Landing. Inside it, they've got a conference room. They've got a lot of computers. They even have a map printer that'll print those 3-foot wide maps inside the trailer. So that's owned by a consortium, a cooperative of lots of different environmental response groups and BNSF, that they all share that trailer so that they can get a great trailer but don't have to pay the whole big thing. So I can go on, but I think I'll leave some time for others. Brian, I do want to say one thing, is get your idea on this. I've been listening to talk from the Bureau of Land Management, and they're taking their, for ages, we've had the multiple use of resource, agriculture, and recreation on public lands. And the plan right now is, they're putting into action to have a 4th use, which is conservation. And what this could look like is, just as ranchers can get a 99-year lease for grazing, an entity such as an entity could get a lease for something like a corridor, a wildlife corridor, or get a lease for restoration land. Because the BLM's not going to sell their land off, but this would give entities like any conservation entity a way to use BLM land to do conservation work. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, there's some validity in that. I mean, I think maybe they need to tweak their, how can I say, how they manage land. I mean, grazing and livestock use, if carefully used, if judiciously used, can be really beneficial, because you want to keep those grasses and things healthy. You want to get rid of that old material, because a grass, a clump of grass or a bunch grass won't grow very well with all that old dead material. So by grazing it off, if done correctly, and not everybody does it correctly, unfortunately, we'll keep it healthy for wildlife, for deer and elk and antelope and all that stuff like that, and birds. So I think there's, what you say is maybe could be, it would tend to emphasize more better use, but it does behoove BLM to maybe be a little bit more scientific in how they do it, to really relate to how you manage that land carefully, and not just let people throw a couple, 10,000 cattle out there and, and then catch them come fall before winter hits. There's some things they could do better, I guess.
The other thing they're talking about, the BLM, is they now have the data with improved mapping, that they will be mapping entire watersheds. And then when a person pulls a permit to do grazing, that they don't have to, the rancher doesn't have to justify just based on their little permit. The justification will already be established by the condition of the entire watershed. So you can, so that I hope would simplify things for ranchers who don't need any more paperwork.
No, I do think, I don't like forever leases. I think, it needs to be, based upon the needs of that watershed with the condition like, we've been in drought and we're still in drought. Okay, you need to adjust accordingly and obviously work with ranchers to find alternatives, but you have to adjust based upon, obviously, with climate change that's hitting rather dramatically here and elsewhere. It's just so you don't abuse that watershed and you keep it healthy for everyone's sake. So there's some things there that can be done.
Turn it back to you, Lisa.
Sue, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Let's see. September 9th is our Founders Cup golf tournament. Anybody here played in that tournament or been involved in any way? It's our 23rd annual, if I'm not mistaken. Golfers, anybody here? Okay, so we have about generally speaking about 15 teams that play on that day with us. So it's about 60 people. Our goal is to recruit an additional 10 teams. So I need 40 people. So if you can think of a golf player in your life who might like to join us that day, I will, Lisa, what's the best way to send just a few little dribs and drabs of information to this whole group? Should I just send it to your chamber?
Yeah, you can do that, or you can put them in the chat. You
Okay.
have them ready, you can just put them in the chat because then everybody can grab those.
Okay.
The other thing is if you have flyers or any of that, you need to send it to marketing at the Dells Chamber. We'll
Okay.
get that, and then we'll get you we'll get you set up so that you can put events onto the community calendar.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. And then I can, okay. So by sending it to marketing you guys put it on the calendar, or are you telling me that I should put it on the calendar?
We will put it in our e-blast, but we will send you instructions on how to put it on the calendar.
Perfect. That sounds great. Yeah. So I was hoping also that I could send you guys some information on sponsorships too, where we have a goal of earning about 25,000 in sponsorships this year. We're at about 10 right now. And so we're looking for a named sponsor. We're looking for some meal sponsors and some game sponsors. We look at it as a fundraiser and a fundraiser, of course, but whenever we get out and spend this much time on an event, we do want to raise some money, and the funds are for scholarships for students. And I think I mentioned in my last appearance here that we had recently awarded about 70 students some scholarship dollars for the coming year. We had 140 applicants, which I think that's typically we can award more than half of the students who apply some funding, but unfortunately this year we just had not enough money and a lot of students who were in need and quite qualified. So we had about $175,000 that we could invest in scholarship. And so we just did that. And that's for the coming year. We're going to be having a paint night in October, which again is just another way to get together, and that event will be in the Readiness Center, kind of a cool environment. I'm hoping that at all of these events, I'll have some good information to share about the news around aviation maintenance technology and that program and where we're going with it and kind of the status of how we're getting it up and running. As much as possible, I just want to tie all of our work to these very meaningful programs that do, as Dan said, help people access living wage jobs and build community. So let's see. I think that is the only other thing I would say is that we do have graduation on Friday. I want to say that it starts at, Dan, do you know?
Graduation Friday, probably, let's see.
I think it's 11.
I think it's 11, but Mary's email is right in front of me, 3 p.m. 3 p.m.
Okay, 3 o'clock. So
3 p.m.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
A question for Sue regarding the golf tournament.
yeah.
Do you have a team? Do you have a team from the Wasco County Commissioners for
We
that
do
golf
not.
tournament?
Nope, not as yet. Would you like to get one started?
Do you think that's a
No, I
challenge
just-
there, Phil?
We
I
never,
know.
we
That
have
was-
never had that, Scott. We have never had that, and I think that would be fun. And the city of the Dalles also. Well, I don't think we've ever had anybody from the city.
I think
We had, with John Mabry, we had a team from Wasco County. I'm not sure whether it was for MCMC or for the college. I think it was for the college, but John put together a team of the commissioners. I think Eric Neasley is a DA. The four of us were on a
Oh.
team. So I think that'd be a great team to get together with, Phil and Scott and Steve and Jill, whoever to put together. So I expect, Phil to jump on that and put together a team for you.
I'll see what I can do. Yes, Scott Hagee has his own golf course.
Yeah, he does golf.
Yes, he has his own golf course. Mhm.
And
Well,
so he's
rough
a
it
player.
Yeah.
I
it's
like
there.
that. I
Yeah.
like that. Thank you both.
Okay, so we've got Wasco County, City of the Dalles. I will follow up with you guys directly on that.
There you go. Sounds like a
I'll put you in touch with Matthew Klebs, the city manager.
Love it. So as far as the chamber goes, we are mad dashingly working away. Tourism season has already started. I am working with 3 different small outdoor TV shows and filming and working with those. They're coming in sporadically through the next 3 months. We just finished up with a fam tour with Northwest Travel and Life. We've had actually 2 with them, with writers, and then we'll be doing a 3rd follow-up in 2 months. We just finished and it was published beginning of June with Willamette Living. A great article of things to do in the Dalles. It was a 4-page spread. And to encourage all of those sitting on that I-5 corridor, this beautiful publication, Elaine did a great job at promoting the Dalles and putting that out there. So that's, we're trying to just put it wherever we can. And then we're working still with Wander online with some digital campaigning. We just finished a huge campaign with Datafy. They are the software, if you remember, that we acquired just barely a year ago. It is quite the software. I'm still learning how to decipher everything, but it gives me data that I can go pull up Cherry Festival. Not this year yet. Actually, no, this year I already did. And I can pull up last year's and compare how many people were here in our downtown for the 3 days. This is all based on cell phone. I know people are like, but you know what? It's already there, so I might as well benefit from it. So it'll help me. It narrows down. We had 18,000 this year from a 50-mile radius and further. So this does not count the people who were downtown, but it does count, within that 50-mile radius. Last year was 23,000. Last year was a zoo. We like the 18,000 that came from outside of our boundary. It's coming into our town and supporting different businesses and supporting different things that are going on. So we did a campaign with them using our own data and their knowledge and how they do these, and they created the ad set for us digitally. The phenomenal thing is I get a meeting with them next week for follow-up. They can see where all of those ads went, who actually opened them, but because they've got that little flag, they also know that those persons drove and stayed. So they can tell me the direct ROI on those ads. So when we looked at one time frame during a day, we pulled up some of the exposures that had been opened, clicked on. There was 7 already that had gone to those ads and had already been to the Dalles and traveled. So when we just picked a little short time period, so they'll give me an analysis on that this next week. It's kind of interesting. I'm a little bit of a geek nerd when it comes to data, and my whole job is driven by that. So that's happening. We actually are going to be doing some filming on the 11th. That's why I was quickly grabbing what time that stuff was going to be. But I don't have to be at this whole thing. So, but we've got Frontier Unlimited, also Gary Lewis Outdoors. He has a dual TV show that is shown nationwide on different sports, the smaller dish networks for sports and outdoor hunting and fishing. He is going to be filming Steve Light at Freebridge. and having a conversation about all of the hunting and fishing that's available in our town. When I asked Steve, he's like, huh, I get to talk about Free Bridge. I get to talk about beer. I get to talk about fishing, hunting, and I get to drink beer. Sure. So, yeah, we are bringing that in. So that's just some of the pieces and parts that I'm doing with the tourism. I'm always negotiating contracts. And that we are actually in the process of negotiating a new contract with a company in Hood River that will be doing some story feature of particular topics. So outdoor recreation, we're going to find somebody that will be our spokesperson. We'll be doing a storyboard on that and then creating a 1.5-minute video along with a 30-second commercial that can be used in any of those things. So as you can imagine, that's just the tourism piece. So then there's that chamber world I live in. So we're moving and shaking. We're continuing to try to deliver some of the support, education, promotion, and making sure that we're following legislation, which is kind of an odd thing this year. We'll just leave it there. I have no words. We're just going to leave it there, whether it's good or bad. Some of the things I understand, some of them I don't. But just so you guys know, if you don't, our responsibility as the Chamber of Commerce is to advocate for our businesses. So I do not go take stands on anything unless it pertains and hits the bottom line for our businesses. Then we do take a stand, we'll send out information, or I'm fervently writing letters to our legislators saying, what the heck are you thinking? Or go for it. And we've done both responses. So those are some of the things that we are working on. We're also in full mode of just trying to do that spring that we wanted to do in spring, but now it's summer, clean up and sort and go through different things so that we're getting ready for our event season, which will start again September, October for the Chamber's events. So just keep watching. If you're not getting our newsletters or our e-blast, that just let me know. I'll make sure I double check. We are still working with our new database system CRM that we got not even quite a year ago now for the chamber itself. And it is allowing our chamber members to actually build out a mini website and have a presence on our website along with their listing. They can actually set up a marketplace within that and sell their services and goods, and it goes directly to their payment system. It doesn't even come to the chamber. It doesn't loop through us.
Lisa, is the Dallas Arts Center a member?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I had a
Selling
conversation
their
with
art.
Sally.
They could be selling their art
Yeah,
on our site.
I had that conversation with Sally. Let's, yeah, good. That's good
Yeah.
to know.
So that is, I will use Williams Woodworking. He is a small-time custom wood designer and builder, does phenomenal work with cutting boards and stuff like that. The very second week we got this, he's like, our company does a build out for you, so you have an idea of what your web page could look like. You just need to go in, dress it up, and add pricing and a method. He didn't set up the pricing so he could sell it right off the website because he would like to talk to him because it's custom. But within that second week, he had 3 custom orders directly from the website, our website. So it does work. It does help businesses. It gives them a gorgeous platform. I will use CCA, Coastal Conservation Alliance. They are a nonprofit. We have a Columbia Gorge chapter. They're very active. They didn't want to have to go get a website because there's a state website. They have a Facebook, but they really wanted a thing to put their info. So we actually helped them, and they're using their landing page on our website as their website. We bought the URL, I should say they bought the URL for the CCA Columbia Gorge chapter, and now it directs them to the Chamber's portal for them. So they're using that as their website. So that is an option for people if they have a URL, but not the time, the money, or the resources to develop their own website. This gives them a stagnant representation on the web, and allows them to those, and it's really easy to point your URL to those pages. So this is something that we continue to offer. As you can imagine, it keeps us busy. But that's what we're always trying to do, is find that next thing that can help our businesses have a better present and be diversified. So those are just a couple of things, but this is my crazy busy season with publications and contract negotiations for getting printed. We're also ending our fiscal year with the city. We start our new one. Our budget was approved. So last Monday, and we start on the 1st. So I've been trying to, I have to tell everybody, hold, I don't know what's going to happen. We can't sign any dotted lines, and which is hard because I should be actually planning next year's contracts. But we'll get there. We're getting better about trying to do at least 6 to 8 months ahead once I know my contract is signed with the city. But those are just a few of the things that we're doing. Don't forget, we have a ton of brochures. If you have guests, if you have family reunions, if you've got sports teams, car shows, we want to know. We do welcome bags for people. We're just getting ready to do 14 of them right now for the Historic Highway Commission. I actually sit on that, and they're meeting in the Dalles today. So we get to entice them and show them some fun things in the Dalles. And so just for your information, I also sit on the board of directors for the Oregon State Chamber. Next year, I will be chair of the board for that organization.
Good, good.
I need to sign off, folks. Thanks a lot for today. It was a lot of fun.
So, and actually it is almost 8. Are all of you guys ready just to ditch and get 3 minutes of deep breath?
Yep.
All right.
Thanks,
Have fun.
everybody.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a great weekend. We're almost there, and thanks everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.